Now lays out Senate Bill 3948 by Representative Guerra and calls on Representative Guerra to explain his bill.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, and members. Thank you for the opportunity to address this committee regarding House Bill 3948. This is a local bill specific to one water district, Water Improvement District Number 3, located in my district, Hidalgo County. Also, please note that all other members...
Okay, members, this is the House Bill 3948. Right.
That's correct.
Thank you. Right.
I think it's also important to note that all of the members that represent Hidalgo County in the House have also signed on as joint authors. This bill will give local control to the City Council of McAllen to propose an ordinance to dissolve Water District Number 3 if certain conditions are met which are laid out in the bill. This bill is not about dissolving any other water district in any other part of the state. In fact, the bill cannot be amended to include any other district due to constitutional restrictions on local bills. This bill also does not give the city unbridled authority to dissolve this water district. It simply gives the city local control to pass an ordinance if certain conditions are met upon receiving voter approval by residents of the district. Why dissolve this water district? As you will see, Water District Number 3's primary purpose is no longer about providing water to agricultural landowners for the most part. District Number 3 was created nearly 100 years ago to serve what was, at that time, agricultural interests in and around the McAllen area. However, as the years have gone by, and especially in the last 20 or 30 years, the district now pumps the vast majority of its water to the City of McAllen and its public utility for the city's use to process into potable water for its residents and businesses. In fact, over 90% of the district's revenues come from one customer, the City of McAllen. District Number 3 currently services only about 13 landowners, not all of which are farming. The remainder of those to whom water is provided are McAllen residents and businesses. This will be very evident to you if you look at the map before you, which depicts how little of Water District Number 3 falls outside the city limits of McAllen. And I believe all of you have a map that depicts the City of McAllen and the Water District. It's color-coded for your convenience. As you will hear from the witnesses, McAllen has a Public Utilities Board. It is ready, willing, and able to service the agricultural landowners as well as the residents within the city limits, and can do so at much lesser cost to the taxpayers without any interruption in service. Admittedly, the Water District has taken the initiative to implement some very innovative practices, such as raising a water pump to resist future hurricane flooding. No other district, from what I understand in the Rio Grande Valley, has done this, and we commend those efforts. However, the bottom line is that this special purpose district has outlived its intended purpose and now simply serves as an expensive and unnecessary middleman that has ultimately resulted in double taxation to the citizens and businesses in McAllen. That being said, the state auditor's report reflects that expenditures of the Water District have exceeded its revenues for the last 4 years and has required the selling of assets amounting to nearly $6 million. This bill is about decreasing rates, reducing taxes, and having less government. There are several witnesses ready to testify which can shed more light on this. With that, I thank you again for the opportunity to bring this before you today, and I respectfully reserve the right to close.
Thank you, Representative Garrett. Now, this is your first bill for our committee, isn't it?
Before this committee, yes.
Yes, sir. Well, we're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
And you've got, I hope everybody recognizes what a great representative they have in you down there. Members, do you have any...
Not for him.
Not for him. Okay, we have, let me say, we have about 8 people signed up to testify today, so if y'all could, each person that wants to testify, if you not repeat the same thing to us, we kind of get it in one time. We have to do that this time of the session. So if you would be succinct and kind of give us your testimony. We don't want to cut you off, but we want to make sure we're not being repetitious up here. With that, the chair calls Othel Brand. Calls Charles Amos from the McAllen Public Utilities, showing for the bill. Mr. Amos, if you would restate your name, who you're with, and your position on the bill.
My name is Charles Amos. I'm the current chairman of the McAllen Public Utility Board, one of the few elected boards that deal solely with utilities for municipality. I am for the bill. I want to bring to your attention something that we've had to deal with most recently, and that was a letter that we received from the district in late January, early February, which essentially said we're going to be out of water in 60 days. Faced with that challenge, we investigated every alternative sources, different means of being able to get our water delivered to us, using every effort that we could to find the most efficient way, as we normally do in every operation that we have. We responded in a letter to them several days later on February the 27th, basically saying this is what we're doing. We're investigating all of our alternatives and seeking other ways to deliver the water if you can't, which is essentially what we were told. Following that, a number of days later, we received another letter from the district dated March 14th, in which they basically say, their drought contingency plan, they were initiating it, and this is what they had to do. But King's X, we can deliver water as long as you have water. We're faced with a challenge, gentlemen and madam. How do we plan for something like this? The dichotomy of trying to take care of our ratepayers, our citizens. You'll have others that will speak to a number of different issues before you today, but I must make you aware of one thing. Years ago, when the district started carving out, and I'll use the word gerrymandering, their voting areas, I, by personal appearance, asked them not to carve me out because I had some properties that I wanted to be eligible to irrigate. As you will find out, that piece of property, unknowing to me, was later eliminated as a property inside the district for voting. We have approximately 130,000 people that live in McAllen dependent on the utility. Approximately 40,000 of those vote, or at least are registered to vote. But only about 200 are eligible to vote in a district that is almost solely inside the city of McAllen. I thank you for your time. I would hope that you would pass this unanimously on to the House and respectfully ask your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on, Mr. Crane. We'll probably have some questions for you. Members, you have any questions of this witness? Please, go ahead.
So you mentioned there was some concern that you had a letter from the district that it would be a 60-day notice that they were going, you say, run out of water.
Well, I will try to read that verbatim.
Do not read it verbatim. What I think that letter said, because a lot of cities got those letters, correct? A lot of cities, is that the water that previously was used to deliver your water, push water, you will not have to pay for, correct?
That essentially is what other communities are having to do.
Right.
And with irrigation districts. I'm sorry, sir?
Is there a different scenario in McAllen?
At this point in time, it is push water that we're talking about, but the volume of water that the McAllen Public Utility actually delivers through District 3, we are the push water.
Okay. However,
unlike Donna and a few other communities that irrigation districts actually are running dry, the city does have water available.
so it's your contention, because I want to make sure we're fair on all aspects
I
of this
understand.
bill, because this is a contentious bill, is that the practice has been that McAllen hasn't necessarily ridden on or rode on top of other irrigation water that's being delivered, but McAllen's water is so large in nature that it was its own delivery system.
That would be my belief, yes.
Because I'm sure there is a lot of criticisms that can be made, but I just want to make sure that the committee understands that this is a letter that all cities receive from the irrigation district, and we have a major problem. Is why I asked for your support on this Mexico's delivery of water to the Rio Grande. But this delivery problem and cities having to now pay for push water is a problem for all districts, not just for all cities, not just the city of McAllen.
That is true, but I commend you for your efforts in trying to deal with Mexico and making your trip up to Washington, et cetera.
Yes, sir.
And the pressure that needs to be provided to the Mexican government to release the waters that they're withholding.
Yes, sir.
But in this particular case, we're talking about waters that the city, actually, there are waters that are owned by the city. And in this particular case, with the delivery, with the lack of farmers that are in this district, and the lack of waters that are being actually utilized by anybody other than the city, essentially we are the bush water for the agricultural users and have been for many years.
Well, when someone from the district comes up, I'll ask about acre feet of water being used for municipal use and water being used for agriculture. But I thank you for coming. Thank you for your service to the city of McAllen.
Can I ask several quick questions?
Representative Thompson?
This is not the first time this has been. I mean, this bill was done last session, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And
at that time it was initiated by the city.
And my understanding was that the governor vetoed it.
Yes, sir, he did, based on, as I recall, a voting rights issue where 200 people basically have better say than 40,000.
Okay, but has that been then cleared up?
I believe there are efforts to do that to where it would be suitable for the governor.
Okay. I just
I'm sure that there's others that could speak more directly to it
Okay.
than I can.
Okay, thank you.
Resource witness from the governor's office.
We might have one. We might have one here. You never know. I'm sure they're listening. Representative Clark?
Yes, sir. As I understand, this bill calls for the dissolution of the irrigation district.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And at the present time, that irrigation district owns a number of assets, I would assume.
Dwindling, yes.
Okay. And I don't know if that includes real property, facilities, structures, et cetera. And is it the intention of this bill to fold the irrigation district into the municipality's existing water system?
That is correct.
Okay. Could you just walk me through that process? I mean, somewhere there we've got two separate entities. You've got assets owned by one entity to go into another. Is there going to be a purchase and sale of assets? Is there going to be, I mean, how do you dissolve one, move assets into the other to satisfy the kind of the due process and
Having been
protection clauses?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Having been 90% of the revenue, I think we have paid an extensive amount for just having them as a delivery system for our water. As far as the details of exactly how the transfers would occur, I am uncertain of those, but I'm sure that those details would be worked out at the time.
Have there been any attempts to negotiate an arrangement, some sort of phase out of an irrigation district? And as I understand, what you're telling me is that its purpose, it's outlived its original purpose. As many irrigation districts or MUDs do over time, they really, the reason to begin no longer exist. And so it seems to me that this could be or should be an orderly transition over. Have there been any negotiations or conversations along those lines?
We have attempted to have conversations. but they have not been responded to well. There have been a number of MUDs or utilities, or I should say water districts, that have been have evolved into and been utilized or go into the auspices of a utility provider. I think there's one other bill besides this one, I'm not certain of that, in this current legislature. But we have tried, I mean, we're going to treat anybody as fairly as we can. That's what historically the city of McAllen has done. Former mayors will tell you the same. But most importantly to me is that that actual process, and to do it, if you're worried about the farmers, we're going to take care of the farmers just like we do any other customer that the utility has.
And Mr. Amos, you testified a moment ago that if this were done and the irrigation district folded into the municipal water utility, that there would be a reduction in water cost. I think there was, less. It would cost less money. There would be smaller government. It would reduce taxes. Have you been able to quantify that? Could you do some projections to say, if this were to happen, this is how it would benefit your customers and Mr. Guerra's constituents?
We have estimated, and this is with the past manifestation of this bill, we have estimated that we could save $225,000 to $250,000 just in operating costs, and it would eliminate one more layer of government that has become unnecessary. But yes, we've looked at that. We've looked at ways we could make better efficiency and water conservation aspects of it. We've had discussions in our utility and with staff about looking at all the different aspects of how we could better operate the district. And we feel like very confident that we could do just that with little addition to staff, but maintaining the personnel that we would require to operate the district, and we have personnel that are very familiar with the district that could do that without any real problems.
Okay, and if I heard you correct a while ago, that in the last few years, the irrigation district has not operated profitably, or they've operated in the red, and it resulted in the sale of assets to kind of cover expenses. Did I hear that right?
That is correct.
Let me ask that on behalf of your entity. How do you compare your operations? Have you been able to operate on a fiscally sound, responsible way where the money you take in from sales of water have covered expenses?
Absolutely. If a AA+ bond rating means anything, we have achieved that as an independent agency, as well as the city. But we're very effective at what we do. We're one of the most efficient, have one of the lowest combined rates in the valley. We've looked at technology to increase our efficiency and water conservation practices. We're looking at reuse just like everybody else is. We're looking at the most effective way to serve our ratepayers. And this is part of what we can do to assure our citizens have water available to them at the most economical rate as possible.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Amos.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let me ask you one question,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Amos. I know you've been up here for a while and answered a lot of questions, but you said something about you had a piece of property in this district, and
Yes, sir.
And give me a time frame on that. What year was that?
I want to say that was either 06 or 07 when
Could
the
it have been 2005?
I'm sorry, sir.
Could it have been 2005?
Possibly, as late as 2005.
Okay, all right.
Quick question, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Sure, absolutely.
Has the city of McAllen received or acquired water from through the use of other irrigation districts?
Yes, we have.
Okay. Is there a plan to try to merge or acquire those irrigation districts in the same vein as this bill?
Unlike any other district, District 3 is almost solely within the city limits of McAllen and is totally and completely I shouldn't say totally and completely, with rare exception, is totally urbanized.
Okay.
Unlike any other district that currently serves the citizens of McAllen.
Okay.
We have reached out to other districts in the past and have provided for redundancy of delivery systems to each of our water plants and are working on following that rationale on through, primarily because in years past, the district manager had told us we're not going to pump.
So there's no intent at this time, nor is there a desire to dissolve other irrigation districts and bring them under your purview?
We have no reason to at this point in time because they don't deliver 60% of our water. It's 3 other districts share the balance of that. So,
Thank you, Mr. Amos. Is there any other questions for this witness? Thank you, sir. Appreciate your testimony. Chair now calls Othel Brand, Hidalgo County Improvement District Number 3, showing against the bill. Mr. Brand, if you would come up and please state your name and just what we have to go through and your position on the bill.
All right. Thank you, sir. My name is Othel Brand. I am president of our 5-member board of Water District Number 3 and also serve as its general manager.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Go ahead with your testimony.
Gentlemen, this struggle has been going on for some time. I've been on the board in my 9th year now. And when I first got on the board, Glasgow Doyle was the president at the time. He'd been there 27 years as president. And I was asked to run by the city because they were having problems with the district. And when I got on the board, Mr. Glasgow Doyle, first meeting I went to, he chuckled and looked at me and said, "Son," he said, "I've been here 27 years. You know who asked me to run? City of McAllen." This is not a personality thing. This is not something that's recent. This has been going on for some time. I've served on the board for 2 4-year terms, just got elected to a 3rd. And all of the members on our board, we're the only water district of the 26 in the valley that are all citizens of McAllen. We all love our city. My father served on it. He was mayor for 20 years. Leo Montalvo, who was on our board, served for 8 years. We are all very part of our city, and we are not wanting to be an adversary, nor an enemy, nor any complications to them. I've told them, he said, "You've got other fights that are more important than this one. You need to take care of those." But over the last 8 years of serving on this board, we have done over almost $12.5 million worth of improvements in the district. In the report that he made reference to earlier, that the state did, we made exception to their comments in that we had done more improvements in our district over that 4-year period in total dollars than assets we had sold. So we challenged that, and we certainly did that in our reply to them after they gave us such a report. One of the biggest things that Jim Darling and Kevin Pagan sat down with me 9 years ago and asked me to run, and they said, "It's not reliable, it's not dependable." I took that to heart, and I understood that, and I understood they had problems with the previous manager, not me, that had told them, as Mr. Amos alluded to earlier, that there were times he could cankerous and say, "I'm not pumping your water." I can tell you, we've never done that since I've been there. Not to the city of McAllen.
Have you done it to others?
I haven't had the opportunity to.
Okay, all right.
We haven't screwed McAllen.
I just want to be clear about it.
Yeah, I appreciate you clearing that up for me. But I want to tell you, too, this is not a local bill. In the 26 water districts in the valley, which are very unique in the state of Texas, 10 of these districts have less water rights than we have. 8 of these districts have less acreage than we have. So this is not just going to affect this district. This has an impact on a lot of other districts as well, out of the 26 that are there. Well, the 9,714 acres that were originally in our district from 1921 up till 2006, we've taken out over 4,400 acres, which is over half of our district. We've taken out, as the law requires us to do, when we converted the water from agricultural.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, because that's a question I have.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Lucio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have taken out acreage from your district.
Absolutely.
So since 2006, when you take out acreage, you also dilute the voting pool, correct?
Well, when we've done 4 exclusions since 2006.
That's correct.
And
in 2006, you had how many voters in the district? 9,000?
At the time, I couldn't say what it was at that time.
Roughly 9,000?
That's as good a guess as any.
Okay. And since then, you've had 4 exclusions.
Absolutely.
And now, as of 2013, the voting pool has gone from 9,000 to what?
About 2,000, no, oh, absolutely not. There are about 2,000 in the district and right at 1,000 voters.
Right at 1,000 voters?
1,000 voters.
Okay, 1,000 voters.
And
so here's my question is there any correlation between de-annexing property and the water you manage?
Absolutely.
So when you de-annex property, you dilute the quantity of water that you manage?
The law requires that if we sell water rights or we designate the use of them to a specific use or a specific user, the law requires us to have 2.5 acre-feet of agricultural water to every acre in our district. The only time we have transferred or sold water, well, I'm going to say except 200 acres, has all been to the city of McAllen in the neighborhood of 5,550 acre-feet of water. Now, when we do that, we specifically designate or sell it out of the district as surplus water, which is what we did, then the law requires us to reduce our acreage to match the 2.5 acre-feet of water for the use of the general population within the balance of the district. So
you have to de-annex water so you meet the ratio requirements required of you, so that if you're delivering more water to the municipality, you're de-annexing to compensate for the water because of the required ratios you're having to use for irrigation? Is that what you're saying? I'm trying to figure that out.
No,
So you're saying that there was a need to de-annex. So in layman's terms... Required to. What purpose?
Because you must have 2.5 acre-feet per acre in your district available to the general users of the district. But if I say, no, I'm going to take, like the district did, we're going to take 5,000 acre-feet of municipal rights and use them specifically for the city of McAllen, they're no longer available to the general population in the district or the people in the district.
Or aren't you within the city of McAllen?
Well, absolutely.
So how is that not qualified for the general use of the population of your district?
Well, you'll have to ask our attorney. I'm sure he's going to get an opportunity to speak. But Texas Water Code, that's the way I understand it, is that once you take it and take water for a specific user and not...
So here's my concern. And Mr. Brand, we're friends.
Absolutely.
Your father was a great friend of my father. I am concerned with the voting pool being diluted since 2006 by 7,000, and from 9,000 roughly eligible voters to 1,000, so it's actually 8,000. And
Absolutely.
Whether or not that was for legal reasons, such as you're stating, and it very could be, or whether or not it's because of this contention with the city of McAllen. That's my concern. Because now, if this were to be a decision made by the voters, we've had a pool of voters that could have voted in 2006. It has been looted so much that you know, the overall people that have, I think, a direct interest in this water includes some people who pay rates in the city of McAllen.
Well, you do understand that when we take that water, we gave it to for their direct use and no one else's.
Okay.
It's theirs to use forever, perpetual. It's a perpetual contract.
Right.
And it's not available to anybody else in the district.
So you hold it in trust.
Well, that's the way the law says. That's the way it's contractually done.
So the water you manage is held in trust for the users you manage it for?
Well, I've never heard the word trust used in the water code, but understand that districts, their crown jewel is their water rights, and the city got those. Okay, they've got the use of those, and
so you can't use it for any other purpose.
No.
Okay.
For nobody else, for no other reason.
So, what percentage of water is used for municipal use, and what percentage of water that you manage, your water rights, is used for
the balance of the district? If you look at the TCEQ Water Masters report as of last week, 69% of our water is used in our district, goes to the city of McAllen, which represents the water rights that have been set aside for them.
Okay.
Okay. And so, you know, we're looking at about 4,400 plus acres that have been taken out. Mm-hmm. We've got about, we had a handout as well on the back of there's a map on the back of that is a water district map. I don't think it's the same as the one you were looking at earlier. But there's about 4,600 left in the district. Now, earlier there's some mention about majority of this water being in the cities. 45% of this district is in the city of Hidalgo.
Say that again?
45% of this district is in the city of Hidalgo in their ETJ. Now, they talk about the ETJ of McAllen, the ETJ of Hidalgo. If you look at the map, and we tried to separate it by color, virtually all the ETJs of both of those cities is all farmed. Of our 4,500 acres in our district, over 75%, over 3,500 acres of it is still farmed.
So we have this map here that was given to us. Is this shaded area here the current boundaries of your irrigation district? And you can take that with you, and we can speak. You can speak from the microphone if you don't mind.
No, this is not the map I gave. This is the one the city gave you.
Right. Well, regardless, is it accurate?
No.
So we have two maps, one presented to us by the city and one presented by yourself or by
right. Now, if you look at
districts.
Absolutely.
So this is
those are two different maps. That's a 1921 map.
Okay.
That map is the current map.
This map is the current map. Here's the city limits based on this map.
Yeah, we tried. If you can look at it, it lays out the ETJ and the city limits of both cities.
Okay.
And if you look at the one the city gave you, if you look when the district was originally made, that little big chunk of square that left out of there is because the city did not choose to be part of the water district, nor did they want to be, because they didn't want any of the costs or any bonding responsibility to the city. Again, the city had an opportunity when this district went in foreclosure, had an opportunity to buy this district years on and pass that opportunity as well.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, to your question,
right.
The balance of this district is we deal with the city of McAllen. We deal with in the future, the district will be dealing with the city of Hidalgo in some form or fashion because 45%
needs growth. Sure.
Absolutely, because 45% of this district is in our district, and so that means literally half the water in the district is really tagged for them in the future. Now, in between that time, the farmers are using and farming over 77% of the district right now.
Wait, land-wise, not water-wise.
Not water-wise. Now, water-wise, you want to know that, and I'll tell you.
It's 3169. Is that what you said? 69% municipal use, 31%
yes.
irrigation. So that's just a hard percentage of.
Absolutely, those are hard numbers. Those are hard numbers.
And you're saying that you're going to have to eventually service the city of Hidalgo, right?
Absolutely. Eventually, they're going to come to us for water and ask us for it.
Would you have to dilute because I'm assuming, how much of that 69% is going to McAllen? All of it?
All of it.
Okay.
If
Hidalgo comes online, and you're saying that money is reserved for, is the water rights reserved for McAllen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They're contractually obligated.
They're contractually obligated.
Absolutely.
69% is contract, and you're not going to acquire more water rights.
Well, we could if we wanted to.
So if the city of Hidalgo were to come online with the 31%, the water come from the 31% that's now agricultural?
That's used for agricultural, yes.
Right. So the city of Hidalgo comes online, you have 69% that's going to be reserved from McAllen.
Yes.
And then the 31% that's agricultural will be diluted even further into municipal use for Hidalgo.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Brown, thank you. I appreciate Representative Lucio's questions. Is there anything, because we've got a number more witnesses to go, and we have to be through here in just a little bit. Is there anything else you could do?
Gentlemen, I would just say to you that, that size is not really the issue here, and the number of voters is not the issue here. I want to tell you something. I looked on the internet last night. I looked at Google. I looked at the list of all the cities and towns in the state of Texas. There's over 1,800 towns and cities in the state of Texas. If I take the 2,000 people who live in my district and I look at where I fit in that, I'm 625th in line. 2/3 of the towns in this state are smaller than my district. So no, we're not insignificant. I don't think you'd say the other 2/3 are insignificant. And that 80% of the water that's used in the Rio Grande Valley is still used by agriculture south of that Falcon Dam. And that we are not a thing of the past. We are actually the future of water conservation for the state of Texas. And we've got plans to try to help that. City of McAllen and all the rest of them have issues that we believe we can help and we want to help. I would just tell you that The packet that was handed out real quickly, you have one, which is a resolution from the managers of all 26 water districts unanimously voted in
We've got
favor.
them here, Mr. Brown.
Okay, and also one from all of our farmers unanimously.
Okay.
And we did not have enough time, but resolutions will be coming from all the water districts from their boards, all 26 districts over the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
I thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Okay, next we'll call Jim Darling from the city of McAllen for the bill. Mr. Darling, you've heard the testimony of others that report, Mr. Amos and this, and so I would ask you to keep your remarks as succinct as you could. And thank you. It's mayor, right?
I'll be mayor in a week.
Well, mayor-elect. Well, thank you. We want to be protocol is very important to this committee. We spend a lot of time on protocol, so.
Right now, I'm a city commissioner, so you just call me Jim.
All right, Jim. Thank you. Please state your name, who you represent, and your position.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. My name is Jim Darling. I'm mayor-elect for McAllen and president of the city commissioner. I'm also a chairman of the Rio Grande Regional Water Authority, which is a 6-county water authority created by the legislature with governmental appointees of irrigators and cities representatives. I also serve on Region M, which is a water planning group established by the state of Texas, and was vice chairman until recently. I'm not going to repeat a lot of things.
Can you just also state your professional experience with water law?
I was city attorney for 28 years for the city of McAllen and been involved before the House and Senate on water issues for pretty much that period.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Darling.
I'm not going to repeat a lot of things, but I think a picture says 1,000 words, and we want to talk about disenfranchisement of voters and the requirement to do that because of water production. This is a map of North McAllen, partially. Put it up there. All these properties were excluded, and they're all different colors because they've been excluded since 2005, since the push for the city to take over the district. I might point out one property that wasn't. It's right here.
We're going to need you to stay on the record. You're going to have to kind of help us here a little bit.
If you could point out lot 14, that's Mr. Brand's residence, or his property that he owns. If you look at around, everything else is excluded, so I don't know why his had to stay included if everybody else is. And that's pretty well been the pattern as it relates to disenfranchisement of the voters in the area. And so...
And Mayor, to speak directly to that, unless I'm mistaken, they said that this de-annexation was required to be in compliance with some statute or law. Can you...
I represent districts who have converted, almost all the districts in the area have converted ag water to municipal water as it relates to the conversion subdivisions. Those, in fact, now it's mandatory by the state under a certain process. To my knowledge, there's no necessity to exclude that property from the districts legally. So I just wanted to point that out is, you know, if there is a necessity to exclude them, there's been certain exceptions granted for political purposes, and all those that are elected here, I wish that we could all do that. It would be very convenient. One thing I want to point out that hasn't been pointed out is what the bill doesn't do. What it does is eliminate an element of government that we don't need. Number two, what it doesn't do is violate what the governor vetoed the bill in the first place, and that was because the first bill that was passed unanimously allowed for a vote by the whole city of McAllen outside the boundaries of the district. The legislation that we propose corrects that to maintain the vote within the district. With the exception, though, we want to consider the people that were disenfranchised. And so that's the only exception from that. What it does do, though, is protect the existing farmers within the district. The bill requires us to eliminate the flat rate tax that they pay, the dual tax that they pay. It requires us to ensure all water rights are held in trust by the city as previously adjudicated. In other words, irrigation rights, state irrigation rights. It requires us to ensure that all individual water users are entitled to continue to use and have access in the same amount of water they're entitled to before the dissolution, so the farmers will not have their water forfeited. It requires that the city perform all functions of the district, including the provision of services to those farmers. And lastly, it ensures delivery of the water to landowners at or below the lowest comparable delivery charge imposed by other irrigation districts in the valley. So actually this gives benefits to the farmers they don't have right now as being included in the district. So we hope that you consider that. One of the last things it does, it allows the city of McAllen to be a direct diverter. Right now, the largest cities in the area, Laredo, Brownsville, are direct diverters. McAllen's not. We don't have a seat at the table for important things that are going on in the river as it relates to drought management, conservation, and those kind of things. And we think that's important for municipal representation, and this is one of the ways that we would obtain that.
Questions, members?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Clardy?
Mr. Darling, if I'm understanding you correctly, that if this bill were to pass, go through law, if those issues have been resolved to the governor's satisfaction and it were made law, after that there would be an election by the affected people within the district to approve or disapprove of this dissolution?
Yes, sir.
All right. So basically, if we have an interest in ensuring local control, can you think of a better way to have local control than to return it to the people in the area that are most affected by this decision?
Exactly. And there's no guarantee we'd win that election.
That's right.
But we want to have a chance to try.
But you air it out to the people that pay the rates, pay the bills, and who live in the area and within that district.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, members? Thank you. Appreciate your being here.
Thank you.
Yes, he is. Yep. Okay. Chair calls Glenn Jarvis, representing himself. And we're going to be in session for a very long time today, and so certainly we want to hear everybody, but we have to finish here a little before 10 a.m., and it's the goal of this committee to be done and not come back at 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Glenn Jarvis. I'm an attorney in McAllen, and actually I'm appearing here as attorney for Hidalgo District 3 as well as on my own behalf. And we'll cover a few points with you as quickly as I can because I understand your time constraints. I'm making these comments basically from a perspective of a lawyer representing his client, trying to interpret a bill and how it's going to be implemented, as well as from a water resource policy standpoint, in that I've been involved in representing districts and water rights matters and water resource issues over the state now for over 50 years, and have been chairman of the Rio Grande Regional Water Planning Group of the Water Development Board that covers the Rio Grande region below Amistad Reservoir. So been involved in water rights for some amount of time. First point, these are technical points. On the election provided by the bill, there is an election, but it's conducted by the city. That is a flaw. If there's going to be an election to dissolve a governmental entity, that election should be conducted by the governmental entity that is sought to be dissolved. There's precedent for that. This past session, the legislature passed Senate Bill 341 dealing with the Bear Metropolitan District in the San Antonio area, a very extensive bill covering several points because it's more complicated than it appears to be. This bill just allows a takeover of one governmental entity by another by an election conducted by the one who wants to do the takeover, and they're trying to change the boundaries of the district to what is not the legal boundaries of the district. So the election should be held by the district, not the city. Number two, the eligibility of voters issues that y'all have already had a discussion about. The eligible voters should be those voters in the district at the time of the election who reside in the district. This district and one other is a water control and improvement district. In those districts, residents within the legal boundaries of the district are eligible to vote if they're qualified.
Mr. Chairman, I
Representative
have
Lucio,
one
please.
question. I know we're on time constraint. Why was there a legal need to dilute the land within the district, which essentially also diluted the number of eligible voters to such a high number between 2006 and today? Was there a legal need to do that?
Yes. Under the statutes, and they've been in place for almost 100 years, but in irrigation districts, as the land becomes non-irrigable, it can be excluded because that land has no further interest in irrigation service from the district and shouldn't be taxed.
You said can, but not must, right? You said can, but not must.
Well, when you say must, I think any prudent water district board of directors would say must. We've got to exclude that if we have to take those water rights that were previously used to irrigate that land and change their purpose of use and convert them to municipal rights.
Fair enough.
For potable water use.
Fair enough.
Because you have to eliminate that potential irrigation demand in the future because you're not going to have the water rights to serve that land. And then that's the exclusion process. And it goes together with urbanization and conversion of the purpose of use of the water rights. Another technical point, number 3, is in sections 7 and 9 of the Act, it uses the terminology on or before the district has to turn over all of its records and actually get consent by the city on or before the election or the process of passing the transfer. That is a major flaw in the bill because it would allow the city to take over the district before the election and tie down the district in any decisions that it would make. And there should be a transitional period. Should the district be dissolved, there should be a transitional period where they can coordinate transitioning the operations and assets of the district. And actually, the effect of the bill is that it dictates that all of the assets be transferred from the district to the city, including all of its rights of way, all of its water rights, and that the TCEQ is dictated to approve that transfer and not order any protest filed on the transfer. And we've got to remember here, too, that we've got 2 different entities. For example, in the Bear Met Water District matter, the city and the Bear Met were serving the same type of customers. In this instance, we're not. The district only serves irrigation customers and delivers raw water to the city, whereas the city only serves potable water household consumers. So there is a difference in functions, and that's the reason for special water district and this committee special purposes districts. The next point is supervision by the TCEQ. The district, as other water districts in the state, are under the supervision of the TCEQ and is deeply involved. Senate Bill 341 that I was referring to had TCEQ in it, as well as the Attorney General's office, doing this transition of the takeover of one governmental entity of another. Another point. The bill doesn't expire until January 1, 2018. The way the bill is written, there could be multiple dissolution elections. It does not say there'll be one election. In other words, the district could be faced with an election every year to dissolve the district until there's a vote to dissolve the district. There should be only one election. But the way the bill is written, there's no restriction that there be just one. And with that, well, those are some of the technical points. There's some others. I would refer you to the governor vetoed the bill before because there wasn't several things, including an election. But here, this election is going to be held by the city. They want it, the eligible voters, so that it coincides with the city's population and their boundaries rather than the district's boundaries. So So basically, if you have there should be a way better than just a takeover like this to resolve these kinds of matters. It should be a consensual adjustment period over a period of time. If an area is completely 100% changing from an agricultural area to a municipal area.
Any other questions, members?
We're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Appreciate your being brief. Hate to see long. Next witness
Thank
is
you very
Kevin
much.
Pagan, City of McAllen.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Kevin Pagan. I'm the city attorney for the City of McAllen and the attorney for the Public Utility Board. I will try to be brief. I just want to very quickly respond to some things that Mr. Jarvis said. First of all, in the Senate version of this bill, which incidentally none of these folks came to testify at the Senate side of this bill, it actually calls for the county to run the election, not the city, and we're happy to have Hidalgo County administer the election. Mr. Lucio, to a question that you asked, with respect to these exclusions, and I would be the last one to lecture Mr. Jarvis about water rights, as you know. However, having said that, even if he's correct, this committee has to ask itself why they went from 1970 to 2005 and never did a single exclusion, and why, when they did do exclusions starting in 2005, they would exclude entire subdivisions except one or two lots here or there. Why are those lots different? This is just, you can't possibly see this, but all of the red are areas that have been excluded. All of the yellows are ones that were not excluded. So rather than just excluding large swaths, they exclude this part but not this lot, this subdivision but not this lot, this subdivision but not this lot, you know, and there's no...
I have one. We really have to go, so I'm going to ask one question.
And by the way, they were not pre-cleared. They never went through pre-clearance on any
of the
of
Voting Rights Act.
Yes, and Mr. Heath, if he were called upon, would testify to that. They never went through Section 5 of pre-clearance of the voting right.
Thank you.
This chart here, Mr. Lucio, to your question, yes, they pump 70% of the water. Then you have to ask yourself, if we're getting 70% of the water, why are we paying 92% of their expenses? And this goes to something that you are familiar with. When they did all of these exclusions, you might think about this as elected officials. When you exclude all of these people, what happens to your tax base? Well, shouldn't the tax base from the remaining people go up? That's the 1/3, 2/3 thing. I won't get into that. I know you're familiar with it, but they do not comply with the 1/3, 2/3. When they excluded all of these property, the flat rate on all of the remaining properties should have gone up exponentially. They never did that because for years they've been ignoring that provision of the law. So that's how they can exclude and not increase the flat rate and handpick people that they want to stay in the district. For those reasons, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, we respectfully urge your favorable consideration of this bill.
Thank you very much. Questions, members?
That was good.
Very good. That was outstanding. Next witness is going to be Tito Nieto, Cameron County Irrigation District Number 6, against the bill.
Good morning. I'm limping because I pulled a muscle.
Okay.
And struggled to get here, but here I am. I'm the general manager of the irrigation district, Cameron County Irrigation District number 6 in Los Fresnos. We serve 22,000 acres in Cameron County.
Could you please state your name?
Tito Nieto.
Okay. And your position on the bill?
I'm opposing the bill.
Thank you.
We deliver water to the city of Los Fresnos, Solmito Water Supply, 2 smaller irrigation districts, Bayview Irrigation District and District number 11. We also serve the city of Brownsville PUB. And we're currently working on a joint project with PUB on a joint pump station and in cooperating with PUB, we not only will save taxpayers money, we'll be able to serve the cities and district needs for the next 40 years. They can be cooperation between the districts. We strongly oppose this bill. And to answer some of those questions, I managed district number 2, number 3 in 2005. We co-managed that district with United Irrigation District. The reason nothing was done in the 70s is because they were a little bit far behind. We brought them up to speed in order to comply with the rule of getting the water allocated to where it needed to go with the municipal needs. We looked at their accounting, and we wanted their accounting to match what their ag had. That's why there wasn't anything done. But the city of McAllen has never run out of water because of District 3. And as you heard before, the city of McAllen is also served by 2 other districts and is contracted with another district to serve its needs. Cameron County Irrigation District strongly opposes this bill, and we kindly ask this committee to do so as well.
Thank you. Questions, Representative? Anybody? Thank you. Appreciate your being here. Hope you get better. Chair now calls Robert Heath, City of McAllen, for the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be very succinct. My name is Robert Heath. I'm an attorney here in Austin. I specialize in election law. I'm appearing here today in favor of the bill and on behalf of the City of McAllen. As Mr. Pagan indicated, all these exclusions, these things, times where they decided exactly who's going to vote and who's going to not, change the election district, all are required to be submitted to the Department of Justice for preclearance. None of them have been. That is a violation of the law. That's been happening anything since November 1, 1972. And other than that, I'm just here to answer any questions that you might have.
Any other questions, members? Thank you. Appreciate your presence today. The chair now calls Roy Rodriguez with the McAllen PUB is for the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm going to be very, very short. I actually like to answer a couple of questions I think that that may have been a little confusing earlier. First, let me start with this. Mr. Tito Nieto, 2 witnesses back, very eloquently stated how many public entities his district serves, and that's fact. The difference here is that District Number 3 serves 1.
Would you state your name and your position on the bill one more time?
Yes, sir. My name is Roy Rodriguez. I'm the General Manager of the McAllen Public Utility. I am for the bill.
Thank you very much.
The difference there is that District Number 3 serves McAllen only, and in Mr. Nieto's case, as well as many other of the districts, probably most of the districts in the valley, they serve many municipalities, so the difference is huge. One of the questions that Representative Lucio raised earlier, and we work very closely with the representative, is the issue of the push water and the letter that the city of McAllen received. I don't know what other cities are doing about that, but McAllen, cities in the Rio Grande Valley look to McAllen for leadership in the things that we do. And it isn't because me and Kevin are there. It's because that's what they expect of the city of McAllen. And so we very quickly looked at alternatives on how to get this water delivered. I think the question here that I would ask is what are those cities planning to do because those districts are running out of water? And are they also served by districts that state that they have excess water and that they're selling off water rights, as District Number 3 has done? And I think that's part of the problem that we find ourselves in, is that the district very recently sold water that we objected to, and now they're running out of water and unable to serve the city of McAllen. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Questions, members? Okay, appreciate your being here.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on, for, against House Bill 3948? Anyone? Thank you. Chair recognizes Representative Guerra to close.
Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, members, thank you very much for hearing the testimony here today, and also as I laid out the bill. In conclusion, let me say that there are ongoing discussions with the governor's office to make sure that we get the right date with the right map so that the voters of this district can have a fair election. And we're earnestly doing that. We're working with the governor's office as we speak. We need to do amendments or substitute. We'll definitely do that. And you've heard the testimony. We're just trying to eliminate another layer of government and alleviate the taxpayers from having 2 taxing districts. I thank you so much, and I urge your support for this bill, and I close.
Members, any questions of Representative Guerra? Bobby, appreciate the time you've put into this. I know the members of this committee will be excited for this bill to be passed us so that you can quit working so hard on the floor talking to us about it. But those that you represent should be proud of your effort. Thank you. Anyone else let me leave House Bill 3948 pending before the committee. With that, members, anything y'all would like to bring up or discuss?